Good evening and welcome to the March 22nd, 2021 meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen. This open meeting of the Auburn Board of Selectmen is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, which suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. Further, all members of public bodies are allowed and encouraged to participate remotely as long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. For the public to join the meeting remotely by telephone, please dial 1-408-650-3123 and enter access code 235-235-861. Or the public can join via the computer at global.gotomeeting.com/join/235-235-861. All supporting materials have been provided to members of this body and are available on the town's website. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda. As a preliminary matter, this is Doreen Goodrich, Chair of the Board. Permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on the agenda are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Lionel Berthiaume?
Yes.
Dan Carpenter?
Yes.
Tristan LaLiberty?
Yes.
Scott Wren? Mr. Wren is absent this evening. Town employees who and officials who will be participating, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Town Manager Julie Jacobson?
Yes.
Assistant Town Manager and CFO Ed Kazanovich?
Yes.
Administrative Assistant Sharon Kwiatkowski?
Yes.
Yes, thank you. Please note that this meeting is being recorded by Auburn Cable Television. Also, please note that each vote in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. Seeing none, we'll move on to the agenda. We have a public hearing and presentation. We have a change of manager for the Century Sportsmen's Club at 531 Rochdale Street in Auburn, and that is a 6 p.m. hearing. Is there someone representing the Sportsmen's Club here? Is there anyone representing the Century Sportsmen's Club here tonight? I will hold that item and come back to it. Seeing that we have town employees on this call who are here for specific agenda items, I would ask by a roll call vote that we move up agenda item 5B, followed by 5C, followed by 5D. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Berthiaume and a second by Mr. LaLiberty. By a roll call vote, Mr. Berthiaume?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. We are on agenda item 5B, which is the, interactive survey for conceptual design of Goddard Park. Mrs. Jacobson, this is a town manager item, so I'll ask you to give the introduction.
Great, thank you. Through the chair to the board. We're excited about this. We have been working with the Central Mass Regional Planning Commission on coming up with some conceptual designs for Goddard Park. And this is actually the second phase of this project with CMRPC. The first phase, we shared some of the draft conceptual drawings with you when we presented the library Goddard Park pedestrian bridge project. So you could see some of the designs that they were coming up. So this is the next step in coming up with a conceptual design. So if we are able to get approvals for the matching $500,000 to the grant we received from the Pappas Foundation at the annual town meeting, then we would be moving forward with the Goddard Park rehabilitation improvement project. So as a result of that, we had applied for a technical assistance grant to CMRPC to continue and do more design of Goddard Park. So at this point, I'm going to turn it over to our town planner, Adam Menard. I know both he and Shannon Regan are working on it, but Adam has been the point person on the survey and on the project with CMRPC from a planning perspective. And just have Adam show you this interactive survey, because we thought it'd be a nice idea to show the board, and hopefully it gets some enthusiasm from the public. It's a really interesting way to take a survey. So I'm going to turn it over to Adam, who's been made a presenter, so he can show you. And I think we're all looking at the screen. You can see what's posted on our website. Thanks, Adam.
Hi, thank you, Julie and board. So Julie kind of gave you most of what I was going to say, but this survey that CMRPC put together is pretty unique. They haven't done one like this before, and so we're kind of exciting to see an interactive survey. If you're looking to take the survey, it can be found in a couple places. It is on the town's webpage. On the front page under Spotlights, Goddard Park Survey. It has also been posted on the town's social media, Facebook and I believe Twitter. So a couple places you can find it. So I'm just going to give you a kind of a walkthrough so you see what it looks like. It does take a minute to load up. It's a big program, a lot of imagery. But a little bit of patience, you can see what it looks like. So here's a bird's eye view of Goddard Park. Some of the conceptual thoughts, walking trail, possibly some kind of access, beach boat access behind the fire station. This includes some of the TIP project, some of the greenery that the TIP project is going on currently. Possible fountain in the middle of the pond, and you can see the walkway, bike path all the way around the pond, and it kind of ends at Auburn Street, where there will be improvements as part of the TIP project to pedestrian access. So you can zoom in if I can do it. Doesn't really want to do it for me. There it goes. Okay, it is a little, you'll have to have a little patience with it if you're trying to maneuver this. So it's a kind of a better angle of where the possible path could go. You can see the bridge, proposed bridge crossing the brook right past the dam. The Polaris missile is kind of cleaned up. Kind of a pavilion with the moved Robert Goddard rocket. So these are just some possible items that could be encompassed. So the survey, as you can see, is the first question. There's only 9 questions, so it wouldn't take too long to take the survey. We kind of want to get the public's feedback to see what they'd really like to see as part of the potential redevelopment. So some of the amenities include a waterfront, hilltop park, bus depot. The mall does get regular WRTA service. So Burlington Way and Auburn Street does have the bus availability. The footbridge crossing the brook, the Goddard Park rocket, the Polaris missile and plaque, the fountain in the middle of the pond, and some overall pictures. You get the school access on the opposite side of Route 12. As I mentioned, the mall, possible public safety facility, which that's the current fire station, so that's still there. Streetscapes going on as part of the Drury Square TIP project, and the wayfinding grant that the town received. So it kind of encompasses all those possible items. So I'm just going to kind of do a dummy survey for you. I'm not going to submit this to the program. But you can pick waterfront options. So if you like the idea of a sandy beach, you can pick 4. A waterfront dock. You may not like this. Yeah, these aren't my preferences. I'm just picking numbers. Rocky shoreline as an option. You may not think much of that. The retaining wall. So charcoal grill and benches. Walking path with benches in the hillside. Bus stop accessibility at the park, as well as the other amenities. This is the bridge from the library to the park, so you could do a classic wooden bridge, do a more modern looking metal bridge, covered bridge. So CMRPC is going to compile all these options just so we have a sense of what the public is looking for. From my understanding, there's already been 100 people that have taken the survey as of late last week. So that's pretty exciting. That's a good amount, but we want to get as many people to provide input as possible. So this is Polaris missile options. Keep it in the same place or put it in a new location. Or if you want to remove it completely. You like the idea of a pond, fountain in the middle of the pond. And then you have the option to add additional comments. So that's the survey in a nutshell. And it's important for people to take this. We really want to know what people want to see. This has been a focus of the ongoing projects, Drury Square, for several years, and incorporating Goddard Park into some of the potential improvements, I think personally is a really good idea. Polaris missile itself is kind of a key feature of the area. I mean, you always see it driving by. It's kind of a landmark for the town. So improving that location, I think, is going to be important. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Do members have any questions or comments?
I would, through the chair, just encourage everybody to share this with friends, family, people you know in town to get their feedback.
So, Adam, I do have a question, and I haven't gone on the website to look. I know in our packet there's a letter that gives us the link, experience.arcgis.com / a whole bunch of other stuff. Is this link found on the town's website? And if so, where can it be found?
Sure, it is. If you go to the home page of the town website, under spotlights, click on the Goddard Park Survey Read On.
Great. I know you did that at the beginning. I just want to make sure people understand that they don't need to type in everything, that they can go to the website for this information.
Definitely.
Thank you.
And it's also on the town's social media pages, so be it here or there. Yeah, it's a lot to type in.
Excellent. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Is there, members have any comments or questions? I don't see any. So Adam, good job. We look forward to seeing what happens with this, and I appreciate your giving the community an opportunity for input.
Through the chair, if I can ask Adam, first of all, thank you, Adam, for walking them through. I think it's a really exciting way to take a survey and to get the feedback, as Adam mentioned. Adam, do you mind staying on if the board would take 5D next? Bill Coyle is going to talk about a grant that we just got for some improvements to Brotherton Way that really do tie in nicely with this. Adam, would you mind, because I don't think Bill has a presentation to put up. Adam, do you mind just staying as a presenter just for a couple minutes and putting the slide up that shows Brotherton Way, I think one of your first areas? Because it might be nice for the board to see what Bill is talking about as far as where the grant work is going to be on Brotherton Way. And so that's kind of a nice map.
All right, so have we completed agenda item 5B?
Yes.
Yes. So because
Thank
we moved all 3 agenda items up, we're now going to move on to agenda item 5D, the Brotherton Way roadway improvements, shared use path construction, and we will come back to agenda item 5C. So Mrs. Jacobson, I know you just gave a brief introduction, but if you can just give an introduction to this agenda item.
Sure, happy to. So I want to, first of all, congratulate DPW, Bill Coyle and Eilish Corey for applying again for a grant for improvements along Brotherton Way. As Bill and I met today with the mall management to go over this project with them, we were talking after and we were saying we've attempted to get funding for this project probably 3 or 4 times. But it just didn't fit in with the grant requirements. But this specific grant requirement that came up recently, Eilish and Bill talked about it and submitted a grant, and we're thrilled to say that we got the grant. It's $280,000, and Bill will give you all the details of what the work is. But the good news is we got the grant, and then as Bill will say, the bad news is we have to spend it by May 31st, so the project needs to be done. So Bill can tell you how he worked it so that can happen. And I just want to say it really ties in nicely with the library, Goddard Park pedestrian bridge project, as well as with the Auburn Street project, because all of this whole area is all going to be tied in together with the revitalization of roads and sidewalks and pedestrian bridges and the pond. And it's just exciting to see all the pieces come together. So I thought it'd be important for Bill to go now on the heels of what Adam just presented, so he can show you along Brotherton Way. And I know Adam has the controls, but it would be easier for you to envision exactly how this project is going to work. So I'm going to turn it over to Bill.
Thank you, Julie, Madam Chair, members of the board, and also with me tonight is Eilish Corey. Eilish is our senior civil engineer and has done a tremendous job on putting the grant package together, which I think was a big part of us being successful in getting this grant. As Julie mentioned, I think this was our 3rd or 4th, probably our 4th attempt of getting a grant to redevelop Brotherton Way. So we're thrilled to get the grant. It's actually under the Shared Winter Streets and Spaces Grant Program. This was something that we were notified just recently at the tail end of the winter, and also advised that we have till May 31st to spend the full amount of the $280,000. So it's something that's going to happen quickly. We have a concept plan together that we would consider as a design build project. But essentially what the project consisted of was a shared use path which followed on the upper portion of the sidewalk along the pond, as you can see where Adam has it highlighted. So this path is essentially from the back of the existing sidewalk, and it will be 12.5 feet wide to accommodate bicyclists and pedestrians. And also part of that is going to be construction of a landscape median along Brotherton Way. As many of you, I'm sure, are aware, Brotherton Way being a 4-lane roadway is probably much wider than is needed out there. And we've always kind of looked at it as a lot more pavement than is needed. So utilizing the existing width and providing the shared use path, which was a major component of the grant, and making it a 2-lane road, 1 lane in each direction with turning lanes instead of the 4-lane cross section. We'll be able to also provide for landscape medians as well. Julie, I think Eilish could share a couple of the concepts that we prepared if you wanted to have her be the presenter. It might be easier for people to understand. Now they can see how this will tie into Goddard Park. I think to visualize what we're referring to would help as well.
Yep, that'd be great. John, if you could make Eilish a presenter, that would be great.
So as Julie mentioned, this is going to tie in perfectly to the Goddard Park project along with the Auburn Street tip project. So we have three projects, one's under construction, one that'll be under construction probably in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully the Goddard Street Park redevelopment project moves forward as well, which will complete the total loop. So in the yellow area that's indicated on the plan, you can see the green islands in the middle, basically a concept plan. To the right-hand side of the drawing is the portion that's going to connect to the TIP project that we will be utilizing town funds to extend the work. A portion of it's going to be built by the state, but there'll be a small gap remaining that we will either be using Chapter 90 or town roadway funds to complete. So as you can see, the island shown in the middle of the roadway will be a landscaped island. We'll have, Eilish, can you flip over to the cross section? We'll have the 18-foot travel lanes, one in each direction. As you can see here, on the right-hand side of the typical cross section is the shared use path that again is 12.5 feet wide, which will accommodate bicycles and pedestrians. And the 18-foot lane, it will be sufficient enough for one lane of travel, but will allow enough width for emergency vehicles to pass as necessary. And the median will be a 6-foot landscaped island, basically with more or less small flowering plants and shrubs. It's too narrow of an area to have trees, so there'll be more of a small landscape area. And also on the shared use path will be a brick feature strip, similar to what we're going to have on Auburn Street, so it all ties in together. And then the last thing that we're working on that we haven't quite gotten final approval for, in terms of see if it can happen, is the street lighting out there is currently more geared towards something you would see on a highway. It's the large aluminum posts with mast arms, Cobra head lights. We are looking at the possibility of swapping those lights out with the same ornamental street lights that we currently have on Auburn Street. Because this project is moving very quickly, we have to pull all these details together. But we've already met with PJ Albert, our roadway contractor, and went over the project with them last week. Because we have a project in town with them, we can add this to their contract and probably get going out there within the next couple of weeks. So there's a lot for us to pull together. We're going to work closely with other town departments and making sure that we keep everybody in the loop of what we're doing. As the town manager mentioned, we met with them all today. We've had discussions with the fire department this afternoon on some of the project specifics. And we'll also be bringing this before DCG in case anybody else has any further comments. And we'll be moving forward, as I indicated, probably next couple of weeks. Eilish, anything that you'd like to add that perhaps I missed?
I think you really covered a lot of it. One thing I would mention is for the TIP project that's going on now, we are going to be talking to them about making a few modifications so that we could possibly extend the multi-use path all the way to Auburn Street, so it could tie into the bike lanes that are going to be striped there as part of the TIP project.
Good point. Sure, I think we'd be able to extend it at some point. We'll probably have to taper down to the width that they're building their project to. So again, it'll be coordination with Mass DOT and their contractor. But our intentions are to extend this all the way to Auburn Street, so we continue that link. And we'll be happy to answer any questions that the board may have.
Thank you, Bill. Do members have any comments or questions on this project? I'm not seeing any. I'll just add, you know, what an exciting time for Auburn. Even during COVID, we have these excellent projects moving forward. And the redevelopment of that area is going to be incredible. And I appreciate the hard work of everyone involved. Ms. Jacobson, do you have anything you want to add?
No, well, thank you for your comments. Yeah, we're very excited. As I said, it's been a lot of years in the planning. All of the plans that the town has come up with, economic development, our housing plan, our Drury Square plan, our vision plan. There are so many plans that this all ties in, and really this comes to fruition, a number of the strategies that have been identified through community plans. So the residents have already put a lot of time and effort into a lot of the meetings that we held on these plans over the years. So I think it's a really great thing to see it finally come to fruition. and the ability to be able to identify funding to get these projects done has been great. So I do want to thank Bill and Eilish again. This is, not only did they do a great job on the grant application, but just pulling this project together as quickly as they've been able to do it to get this completed by May 31st is, it's miraculous that they were able to get this done. So thank you both. You've done a great job.
Thank you, Julie.
Thank you. So if we are finished with agenda item 5D, we'll come back to agenda item 5C, which is the Town of Auburn participation in DHCD Local Rapid Recovery Plan Program. Mrs. Jacobson, if you can just give an introduction on this item, please.
Certainly, there is a letter in your packet from Shannon Regan explaining the local rapid recovery plan program, but I thought it would be nice for the public to hear about the program. So I'm going to let Shannon handle this. She's our economic development coordinator. She's done a great job on all of the COVID-related business programs and getting the word out to our business community and the public about what is available to them. And this is just another one of the initiatives that she pursued. So I'm going to turn it over to Shannon.
Great. Thank you, Julie, and thank you everyone for having me tonight. So as Julie mentioned, we applied for a local rapid recovery grant. The Baker Polito is part of their COVID-19 initiatives to help economic development move forward. So all 351 Massachusetts cities and towns were urged to apply. So we were lucky enough to be granted an award, and it's only technical assistance, but that comes out to around $60,000 in technical assistance through the BSC group. The BSC group also was our consultant on the swimming pool study as well. So they're very familiar with the town, which is wonderful. They're great at community outreach. And as consultants, they're going to be kind of on the ground with us, reaching out to businesses in the Route 1220 corridor. So that's going to go from pretty much where Midstate Park is all the way down to J. Anthony's. You had to identify an area in town to focus these efforts for COVID-19 recovery. Today we actually took the site walk just to take an inventory of all the businesses, get some ideas. Some of the improvements can also include overall improvements such as walkability, pedestrian access, parking regulations, stuff like that. So we had the site walk today. Our next goal is to distribute the survey. The survey will be open, I believe, until April 12th for the businesses in those areas. We compiled a list of emails, and then if we don't have the emails, we'll be physically going to those businesses, having discussions with them, get some feedback about how their businesses were interrupted because of COVID, were impacted, and any other general concerns that they have within Auburn. So that's kind of the overall goal of this grant, and out of the survey responses will come some strategies and resources that hopefully will be attached to future grant funds to get some of these businesses some financial aid. Obviously, we won't know the results of those grants until other packages are passed, but that's the hope for this grant. So it's kind of step one into getting some financial COVID-19 recovery to that area of town. And we should have the final report around the end of May as well. So I can keep you all updated along the way, and we'll be reaching out to businesses. So if anyone from the area is watching, we'll be reaching out to you by email, phone, or in person. So we'd love to hear your feedback, and I'm happy to answer any questions if any of the board has any.
Thank you, Shannon. Do board members have any questions or comments on this agenda item? Seeing none,
Madam
I'll
Chair?
just, I'm sorry, is that Mr. Carpenter?
Yes, Mrs. Goodard.
Please, go ahead.
Just a question to you, through the chair to the manager and the economic development coordinator. The district is from Midstate to the 1220 split, closer to Oxford. So the surveys would only be eligible, or people getting these surveys would only be in that area? Is that correct?
Yep, correct.
Okay. That's all I had, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Carpenter. Do members have any additional questions or comments? Seeing none, Shannon, thank you for your work on this. I know that especially during COVID, things have been challenging and you guys haven't skipped a beat with pursuing these opportunities, so thank you.
Great, thank you.
Ms. Jacobson, do you have anything else on this?
I'm all set. Thanks again, Shannon. Great job.
So we are going to, thank you, everyone. I don't believe anyone has any additional items who are left on the call. We are going to move back to our regular agenda, and I'll go back to agenda item 2A, change of manager for the Century Sportsmen's Club, Inc. at 231 Rochdale Street in Auburn. Is there a representative from the Century Sportsmen's Club on the call? Is there a representative from the Century Sportsmen's Club on this call this evening? Seeing no one, I will continue on with the agenda. So we have no communications. Under Board of Selectmen general items, we have a vote to set the time for the May 4th, 2021 annual town meeting and for the May 18th, 2021 annual town election. In your packet, you have a memo from the town clerk requesting that we set the 8 to 8 for the, I've attached the ballot openings for the warrant, and that she's requesting that we set a time of 8 to 8, 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. Do members have any questions or comments on the annual town election time? Seeing none, is there a motion to set the hours for 8 a.m. to 8 p.m.?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Mr. Berthium and a second by Mr. LaLiberte. By a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. And it's also a request to set the time for the annual town meeting on May 18th. And Mrs. Jacobson, I'm not seeing a time on that. Do you know the recommended time for that?
Through the chair, I don't see a memo in here from the town clerk on that either. I'm just looking at the warrant. I will say that the last couple of times we held it, we had it at 6 because of COVID restrictions and having to have some people in their vehicles. And we, especially in the fall, we wanted to make sure people weren't sitting outside in the dark. But with the time change, I think it's, that's probably not going to be an issue. But unless Sharon has heard otherwise from the clerk, I believe we could set it for 6 o'clock again.
Do members have any questions or comments?
Madam Chair, I'll just make a motion that we set the time for the annual town meeting to be at 6 p.m. It's something that we can probably come back to afterwards, right?
Alrighty, is there a second?
I'll second it.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion by Mr. Berthium and a second by Mr. Carpenter. Is any discussion? Seeing none, by a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. Also in your packet, you have a draft of the May 4th, 2021 annual town meeting. The motion tonight would be to approve the town warrant subject to review by council. This isn't taking positions on the warrant. This is to send the warrant to town council for review. Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we approve it, subject to review by council.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Carpenter, a second by Mr. Berthium. Are there any questions or comments on this item? Seeing none, by a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you. The next item we have is a gift acceptance in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 44, Section 53A. And we have a donation in the amount of $200 from Ray and Dee Ryder to the police department. Is there a motion?
Motion to accept with gratitude.
Is there a second? Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Carpenter and a second by Mr. Berthium. Is there any discussion or comment? Seeing none, by a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you. And in your packet, you have a request or a suggestion for a proclamation to Shepherd Envelope for their longstanding service to the town of Auburn, being the 100th anniversary of their business. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve the proclamation?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by
Second.
Mr. Carpenter, a second by Mr. LaLiberte. Is there any discussion or comment? Seeing none, by a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you. And moving on, we have a drain layers license for Alexander Construction of Worcester. They have been previously licensed in the past 5 years. We do have an application signed by the sewer superintendent. Are there any questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion regarding the application?
I'll make a motion that we approve the license, provided that all applicable requirements of the state and town and its departments, boards, and commissions have been fulfilled. Said license is subject to all conditions stated upon it. Failure to comply with any and all conditions shall invalidate the license and render it null and void.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion by Mr. Carpenter and a second by Mr. LaLiberte. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, by a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium,
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter,
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberte,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. Thank you. Moving on, we do, and I had talked to the town manager about this item. Just a reminder about the vote regarding outdoor on-premise alcohol consumption during the pandemic. I don't know if any members have had any inquiries, but the board did take a vote which carries us through 60 days after the governor's executive order. So if anyone asks, there's no additional action that the board needs to take because the vote that we took is in force until 60 days after the governor's executive order expires. Ms. Jacobson, did you have anything you wanted to add to this?
Through the chair, no, I think it's important that this is in place, that the legislature allowed for this to happen. And again, the board took that vote. So any business that was interested in having the outdoor dining just needs to work through our building commissioner, Caleb Moody, or our public health director, Darlene Coyle, and make sure that all of the appropriate requirements are being met of the outdoor dining, the setup, the layout, etc. So if anyone is interested in doing that, please get in touch with Caleb and Darlene and we'll walk you through the process.
And Ms. Jacobson, I know that Shannon is our liaison with the Chamber of Commerce. If she can just remind them that the board had taken that vote and what the process would be now that the nicer weather is here, if there are any businesses looking to provide outdoor dining to their customers.
Through the chair, I see Shannon's still on, so I'm sure that would be great.
Yeah, sure, I'd be happy to.
Thank you. Thank you.
Shannon is still on the board of the Auburn Chamber too, so.
Yeah, and I know that, we're seeing more and more people who are getting their first and second vaccine, but there are still many, many people who are concerned about eating inside. And certainly we hope that all of our businesses survive through this pandemic, and offering outdoor dining certainly assists with that. So thank you. Moving on, we have town manager items, and we have a request by the fire chief to declare a 2008 Chevy Tahoe as surplus property for disposal purposes. And you do have a letter in your packet. This is a pretty standard procedure. Do members have any comments or questions, or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion that we declare the item surplus as outlined by the chief's letter of March 12th.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Okay.
We have a motion by Mr. Carpenter, a second by Mr. Berthium. Is there any further discussion? By a roll call vote, Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. So we have taken care of agenda items 5B, C, and D. The next item we have is the dog park ribbon cutting event on April 21st, 2021. And I know the town manager sent members an email outlining the status of the dog park and informing us of this ribbon cutting. But we're anxious to hear what's going on, Mrs. Jacobson.
Well, we're very excited, and I want to, again, give credit and thanks to DPW for all the work that they've done on this. Bill Coyle, Joanna Paquin, Eilish Corey, all of the engineering work that goes into a project like this is invaluable, and they've just done a great job. Part of the conditions of the Stanton grant, if you recall, were that the town sign an MOA with the Stanton Foundation. And part of that was that we had to establish a coordinating group with 2 town employees and a member of the Auburn Fur Friends. And for those who don't know the story, the reason for that is the Auburn Fur Friends have provided the required 10% match under this grant. So when the town applied for this grant funding, there were no public dollars that had to go into the dog park, which was just a tremendous opportunity for the town. And we want to really reach out and thank the Auburn Fur Friends for all the work that they've done to raise the money. They actually contributed $25,000 toward this project. And I see Mr. LaLiberty, I know he participated in some of those events, and so did you through the chair. And it's amazing to see what they were able to raise in a fairly short period of time to allow us to get this grant in. So without going through the entire thing, because it is in your packet, just so you know that the project started approximately in October. Eilish has been the contact person for the Stanton Foundation, and she's kind of been overseeing this project. And we are ready to open the dog park in April. And we have set a ribbon cutting date in April for April 21st at 12 p.m. noon. And because of COVID, we are required to make sure that the event doesn't exceed 150 people, or as many can, under that, have to still be within 6 feet. So in other words, if the space, we have plenty of room, so we could get the 150, but everybody will have to be wearing masks and they have to be 6 feet apart from one another. And we are going to do it on site. It will be the first event that we've actually had since the start of the pandemic a year ago. But it gives, hopefully, the community the opportunity to see this beautiful facility. So I do want to make sure again to thank DPW and under Bill's direction to get this done. And likewise, the skateboard park had to be relocated, and Bill and DPW have been working on relocating that skateboard park and reopening it elsewhere in the park on the site that had been identified a little bit away from where the current site is now. And that is also underway. So again, this is a ribbon cutting on April 21st at 12 p.m. And we want to thank the Fur Friends. They will be part of it. And through this coordinating group, they're going to continue to be part of it. I'm not sure if it's in your packet, but we do have rules and regulations that were developed by the coordinating group. And those were incorporated into the signage that the contractor, which is JAM Corporation, put into into a sign. And I don't know if you can see it. I am not sure if you can see here. And I'm not sure if this is what's in your packet, but this is the signage that goes along with it. And that was done through the coordinating group to put all the rules and regulations into place. So this group will continue to meet on a quarterly basis under the terms of the MOA. And as such, they will be developing ensuing grant applications to the Stanton Foundation for upgrading and additional items that we may want to put in the dog park in the future that we become eligible for funding for. So I think I got everything. I am not sure. Let's see. I think that's it. Bill, I see Bill and Elise are still on the call. So if there's anything on the dog park that I missed or you want to add, please feel free to do so. And if not, we're just very excited about it. It's a great opportunity for the community.
Thank you. It is an exciting event, and it'll be nice that we have an in-person event. I know we're still being very, very careful, but it'll be nice to have an in-person event to celebrate the opening. Mr. Coyle, did you have something you wanted to add?
I think Julie touched upon everything. I just want to say Jan did an excellent job on the construction of the dog park. It came out beautiful. I think we're just finishing up the loaming and seed this week, and we're excited to have the ribbon cutting. So Elise did a great job coordinating, and the contractor, we didn't think they'd get that much work done through the winter, but they kept working and they got a lot done, and we're very excited about it. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Coyle, and I am confident that we will have the opportunity to extend our sincere thanks to all those who were involved at the ribbon cutting on April 21st. Ms. Jacobson, did you have any additional town manager items?
I'm all set. Thank you.
Alrighty, so on your agenda tonight, we did have a change of manager for the Century Sportsmen's Club on Rochdale Street in Auburn. Is there anyone on the call representing the Century Sportsmen's Club? So generally, when we have a change of manager, because they are going to be on site and are going to be the responsible person for the liquor license, we generally ask them to be here so that they can answer questions of board members. It's my understanding that they were informed of the meeting and were told they would need to be present. I'm not sure how board members feel, but I know I did have a couple of questions and would appreciate continuing this hearing to our next meeting. But it's open to comments and questions from board members. Mr. Carpenter?
I'm just prepared to make a motion that we continue it to our next meeting, same time, 6 o'clock.
Okay. So Mr. Carpenter has made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
So Mr. Carpenter has made a motion to continue the hearing until our next meeting at 6 p.m. Mr. LaLiberty has seconded it. So just under discussion, I would ask town administration to, if this vote passes, to please inform the proposed manager of Century Sportsman's Club that the board did not take action and they are required to come before the board before we take any action on their license. Is there anything else? Any board members? Seeing none, by a roll call vote. Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. LaLiberty?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Thank you. So we have we have no tabled items. Do Board of Selectmen members have any items under Board of Selectmen member items?
Madam Chair,
Mr. Berthium?
if I could just make a couple of short comments. One is, I just want to let the personnel know, like Sharon and Bill and, is it Idish? Am I saying that right? Yeah. Everyone know that my lack of questions or comments does not show a lack of appreciation. You guys work extremely hard, and I personally appreciate everything that you guys do for the town. So I know there's, we have meetings and sometimes we go by agenda items and don't make those comments, but I want everyone to know how much I, at least personally, appreciate everything that you guys have done for a town that I've lived in for 58 years and very proud of. So that, I wanted to just put that out there. The second thing I wanted to ask was, I didn't chime in quick enough when we were talking about the outdoor seating. And what I'd like to do is see if, I don't know if it's through Sharon or who, Shannon, I mean, or who we should go to, maybe Caleb, to find out what would need to be done. I know we've made a vote to allow the outdoor seating for 60 days past the deadline. Our restaurants obviously have struggled for quite a while. You know, it was a very tough year last year, and thank God most of them survived. But I would like to know what steps would need to be taken to allow them to permanently have outdoor seating if they chose to do that. I think people bought, you know, chairs, they bought tents, they constructed maybe temporary walls to protect from parking. And, you know, in a time that they didn't have a lot of money coming in, they ended up putting more money going out. And so I'd like to see if we can maybe, especially where outdoor seating everywhere is becoming so much more popular, what it would take for us to make this a permanent thing for them.
Thank you.
Through the chair, I can confer with the building commissioner to verify, but I believe that in Auburn, we would have to change our zoning to allow for that. So the reason you're allowed to do it now is the legislature passed legislation that enabled any community to kind of override their current zoning or go beyond what their zoning may currently have to be able to put this into place during COVID. And again, that it expires when the state of emergency expires. I believe to make it permanent, it would be a zoning change, but I'm not sure exactly which part of the zoning bylaws we would have to look at. I'd have to talk to Caleb and take a look at it, but that would be how it would happen permanently. I believe also the legislature has been discussing potentially passing legislation for that, but it generally comes down to local choice, local option, and local communities make decisions as to whether they have outdoor dining, what the regulations are regarding that outdoor dining. But we can look into it and get you more information.
And so I'll just ask a follow-up question and, well, make a comment and then ask a follow-up question. I know that prior to COVID, what was required for liquor licenses was to apply through the Board of Selectmen for an extension of premises, which went to the ABCC. And that was a process for anyone with a liquor license. So I guess we'll be looking at it from two different viewpoints: is the anyone who has a liquor license, and then also any restaurant who does not serve alcohol, be it a breakfast shop or whatever, who's looking to have outdoor dining. Correct? You're muted.
I'm sorry. Yes, that is correct. It's the two different processes.
Okay.
We were allowed to extend both, and that I believe the state even waived the ABCC requirement that the restaurants used to have to go through to have the outdoor extensions. So that is, there are two different pieces to that. You're correct. There are the premises, the on-premise accounts that have a license, and there are those that don't have a liquor license.
Yeah. So just to be clear, just so I'm clear on my comments, when the governor's executive order expires, the state of emergency, anyone with a liquor license, that will go back to the to any requirements being brought back to the ABCC, and we still have to abide by those. We can't pass a local ordinance and skip over the ABCC. So we still have to follow those requirements, correct?
That's correct. Up until, I believe the legislation is 60 days after the finish of the state of emergency. So 60 days after that, on day 61, you're back to the same processes that you followed before COVID and before this legislation. Unless and until the town moves forward and looks at their zoning for outdoor dining. As the chair said, you already have the opportunity to give a license for outdoor entertainment and outdoor extension of premises for the liquor. The board may want to, at that point, look at the parameters that you currently have in place, and you can always, on the board level, make those changes. As far as zoning and how much parking is needed and whether the businesses have room to put up a tent and they need to take some of their parking spaces away, I do believe that that has to be done through zoning or through a variance.
Thank you. So we can get that information, if possible, because things will move quickly, although there's been no indication when this executive order expires. And Mr. Berthium, keep in mind that even after the executive order expires, we still have 60 days that restaurants will be allowed to have this outdoor dining until we figure out the new process.
And Madam Chair, through you, as a follow-up, it could be a moot point. I haven't spoken to any restaurant owners that have expressed an interest to do that. So it's probably something that at some point we'll kind of have to get a feel for if any restaurants want to do that before we go through any additional work anyway. I just wanted to bring it up to see what the process might be. So thank you for all that information, and we can always bring it up again when we get closer to that point.
Well, I think it's important to be proactive rather than reactive, so we'll start gathering that information now. Thank you, Mr. Berthium. Is there anything else? Do board members have anything else? Seeing none, we have the minutes from February 8th, 2021. Do members see any omissions or corrections? Seeing none, the chair will accept them as written. If there's no other business before the board tonight, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
And a second. We have a motion by Mr. Berthium and a second by Mr. La Liberty by a roll call vote. Mr. Berthium?
Yes.
Mr. Carpenter?
Yes.
Mr. La Liberty?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. Have a good evening, everyone, and thank you for a good meeting.
Bye. Thank you. Good night, everyone.
Good night.